Wynn Resorts won the coveted Eastern Massachusetts casino license. It looked like the end of the line for Suffolk Downs. The 79-year-old racetrack had hoped to expand into a full-blown casino resort operated by Mohegan Sun. Shortly after that dream was dashed, track owners announced the final race would be run this Saturday. But now a group of horse owners and trainers is making a last-minute push to keep the races going into 2015. Yesterday, the New England Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association filed an application with the State Gaming Commission expressing interest in finding a way to keep the sport going. And as WGBH News reporter Ann Mostu tells us, it could be the last best chance for horse breeders in Massachusetts.
More than 1,000 pounds of muscle and bone land jarringly on spindly front legs. Thoroughbred racehorses have a genetic urge to run as far and as fast as they can. It's a 2-minute rush on the track and a lifetime of grooming, care, and exercise. For at least 3 years before they race, and for years after, they live on farms like Black Russian in Medfield.
And this is Lulu.
Armand Janjigian has bred and raced more than 40 horses at Suffolk Downs. He's not sure Lulu will ever race in Massachusetts, since Suffolk Downs is the only thoroughbred track in the state.
We have raced in other states, and we would probably continue to do that. I would cut back on our breeding program.
But higher purses are paid out to horses racing in their home state. So without a thoroughbred track, Massachusetts may be looking at the end of its breeding industry. That affects people like Janjigian and his blacksmith, veterinarian, grain dealer, and 3 full-time employees.
We're staying optimistic, definitely. You have to. We hope that it stays just for our jobs, and this is like another home to us. We love these animals like we would our own.
Just down the road, past dozens of other horse farms, is Lion Spring, where Harry Hicks works part-time. He moved from South Carolina to train horses in Rhode Island and Massachusetts in 1963.
I was born and raised on a farm with about 80, 90 horse, and that's where I learned how to ride, how to do stalls, how to groom, how to do a little bit of everything, yeah.
And what did you want to be?
A jockey, but I got too big too fast.
Hicks says this small farm may no longer need him to care for its stallion, but he'll still try to work with horses.
If the horse industry collapses, I don't know what I'll do, hopefully I'm lucky enough to find a job at one of these riding academies.
Lion Spring owner Lee Lobelenz says she'll retire her stallion.
Nobody's going to breed to him right now because it takes 3 years to get our product, a foal, to the racetrack earning money. And there's so much uncertainty that people aren't going to take a risk.
But both Lobelenz and Armand Janjigian point out that they're lucky to have additional income from spouses and real estate investments. They're concerned about family farmers who rely only on breeding and racing for their livelihood. While there's a new effort by horse owners to bring racing back to the track next year, there's no guarantee that will happen. Even if that doesn't pan out, the good news is that all Suffolk Downs horses should have homes.
All these ex-race horses, I would say 90% or more, end up in some other regiment.
Janjigian says that includes show jumping and trail riding. He adds that people will be able to buy the horses at very reasonable prices. Ann Mostu, WGBH News.
My next guest has a lot at stake in the Massachusetts racing industry. James Green has owned racehorses since 1969 and lobbied on behalf of thoroughbred horsemen during the framing of the state gaming bill. Welcome to Greater Boston.
Thank you.
So, James, are you encouraged by this latest effort to have horse racing continued at least through 2015?
Yeah, I think in order to be a horseman, you've got to be very, very optimistic, okay? And this is a serious effort by a group that understands what it's doing. I would guess that horsemen everywhere would hope that the New England HBPA is successful in putting together a program. And we like to think that reasonable people come to reasonable solutions. We can see the need for a racetrack. We can see the need for continued breeding.
Is there, though? That's the big issue.
Sure there is.
I mean, doesn't it have to be something more than it is now? It has to be, I mean, the purses aren't that big. You don't have those big crowds.
I understand that, but I think what's going on now, Emily, is we're moving at a stopgap measure, that down the road there will be a more permanent solution. And that comes when you look at today's modern racetracks. They're much smaller in grandstand. Just the racing facility itself is a restricted viewing area. But you add to that, in terms of the racing industry, the breeding that you do within the state. And that's where the economic activity comes. And in this state, we have a legislature that has recognized that. They encouraged in the gaming bill that the Gaming Commission retain current industry, and that was referring to thoroughbreds.
Isn't it anachronistic to say that you get a larger percentage or purse if you race a horse that's bred in Massachusetts in Massachusetts? What has that got to do with it? Why can't you take that horse to Kentucky or wherever you want to take?
Well, you can if you want, but you probably...
Why should you get less?
Well, because Kentucky won't pay you what...
Why not?
Kentucky's a bad example because they pay real good, all right, and they're tough competitors. But if you went into Pennsylvania or Maryland, they're paying reasonable purses, but they pay extra for the horses bred in their states. And what we're failing to understand is that a few years ago, we worked out, we being the industry, worked out the idea that not all horses had to come from Kentucky, not all horses had to come from Florida, that you could breed your own. Now, the public is interested in a competitive race. Yeah. Now, in order to get a competitive race and to get plenty of horses, you offer a breeding program which is funded by a small percentage of the expanded gaming. Now, you encourage investors to now breed, because if that horse wins in its home state, and you don't have to go through the expense of traveling all around the country to get that, you get extra benefit. The breeder at the time of conception, the owner at the time the horse wins. These folks, the 3 awards that are given out, this is extra money that comes to them. They don't ever have to go to the racetrack to have an investment. Now, what I'm suggesting is that there's a big difference between those of us who buy racehorses and hope we can win some money and those people that invest. And what we're talking about, other states have proven very successfully that you can invest in thoroughbreds and it's profitable. And that leads to tremendous economic expansion in the agriculture department of that state.
Well, I hope they're so cool. They're so beautiful to look at. And I asked you, you brought a horse tonight. I wish you had. All right. James Green, thanks for coming.
My pleasure.